Okay, assalamu alaikum. Hope you're all well. Good to be on. Just quick sound check. Can you hear me? Don't want to have another microphone issue. Check the comments. Hey, Salam Proud Boy, how are you? Very good. Okay, sorry I couldn't make it yesterday. Just had a really ferocious migraine and headache. I've got one today as well, to be honest, but it's not that bad now. It's a little bit better. Just give me a second. I want to send a quick message to someone. We'll get started. All right, okay. How many people do we have? 6. All right, good. It's still the weekend, so I thought I'd make sure I'd get it done in today before. Even though, to be honest, it's not the weekend for us over here in this part of the world. It's a work day, the first of the week. Okay, let's get on with this presentation that I've got for you about Surat al Asr. Okay, so what I wanted to talk about today is just, this is one of the shortest surahs in the Qur'an. I think it's misunderstood quite a lot, but it's also a very fascinating surah to consider when talking about the Qur'an's challenge. And I put a link in the description. I've put out some guidelines on the Qur'an's challenge and how it could be tackled, because I think that a lot of the attempts that you see are just really deplorable. Most of them you see, they are either mockeries, parodies, or clearly un-Islamic, teachings, and then they say, look, we've done a surah like the Qur'an, rather than having something which is actually really is a genuine attempt to be something which is like the Qur'an, meaning similar to the surahs of the Qur'an, as if it would fit among the surahs of the Qur'an. And that's what it's mainly, I suppose, the Muslims' fault, because they've made it out to seem as if the Qur'an's challenge is all about eloquence. And the Qur'an is the most eloquent thing there is, and that's why you cannot make anything like the Qur'an. That isn't the case. There are actually other things which are pieces of text and stuff which are more eloquent than parts of the Qur'an, just because of what is being discussed. The Qur'an is not aiming for eloquence. When God revealed the Qur'an, He didn't reveal it to be the most eloquent thing ever. No, that was not the case at all. He revealed the Qur'an to be guidance, and not only that, He made it easy. Okay, لَقَدْ يَسَّرْنَا الْقُرْآنَ لِلذِّكْرِ فَهَلْ مِن مُدَّكِرٍ. Right? He made the Qur'an easy. Right? And part of something being easy is not making it, at such a high level of eloquence that nobody would understand it. That's not what that means. Okay, so if God had wanted to make something really eloquent, He would have. Okay, but the Quran is not meant to be. It's not meant to be. It is at a peak of eloquence for what it wants to say, and in the form and simplicity in which it wants to say it. Okay, but it's not aiming for eloquence. It's aiming for guidance. Okay, but let's talk about the surah first. This is a very interesting surah. It starts off by an oath. Okay, so you have these oaths in the Quran, and this one is God. I'm making an oath by Al Asr. Okay, Al Asr, generally referred to mean time, and it of course usually means that. There's the time of Al Asr is of course that Salah time, the end of the day, as the sort of the sun starts to sink rapidly down. Okay, so we're talking about the movement of time. And Asr also means an age, literally means an age. Asr al-Nubuwa, Asr, al-Fara'ina, the time of the Prophet, the time of the pharaohs. Okay, it can mean an age. Sometimes it's made to mean a century. One Asr is a century. But essentially what has been, the oath being taken here is about time. Okay, by the ages. Al-Usur are the ages. Okay, the plural, al-Usur, the ages. Or an oath by time throughout the ages. As time goes on, as time moves. Why? So now you've got the idea of time in your mind. What's the oath about that? It is that mankind, or al-insan, the word used here isn't even nas as in all of mankind. It just means al-insan, sort of like the prototype mankind, so the human being. Inna al-insana lafi khusr. Okay, indeed, mankind or a human being is in loss. Okay, meaning what? Meaning by time, as time goes on, as the ages moves on, as things go forward, as time increases, mankind is always going to be in loss. They're going to be increasing in loss. Things are going to be getting worse because things are never stationary. Okay, either the things are getting better or they're getting worse. It's very difficult when you have, it's sort of like you see those stock market, right? Stock market charts, where things are either going up or they're going down. Okay, it's never stationary, especially when you have a bunch of people together. Things are never stationary, right? It's almost like a tug of war. You have people on one side, people on the other side. They push and they pull at different times a little bit. And it rocks back and forth. Okay, things are never stationary, and usually, collectively, things are either getting better or they're getting worse. And generally, the God has taken the oath that the human being, by his very creation, what he is, his nature, he's going to be in loss. He's always going to be in loss. Innal insana lafi khusr. Okay, and we see that even though now we think we've got a lot of progress in the world. Okay, but when you have a lot of changes, fast changes, not usually a sign of progress. It's usually a sign of things of degradation. Okay, it's very hard to go uphill, to move upwards, to make things better, to build. It's very easy to destroy, right? So a building can be blown up and it will come tumbling down very, very quickly, okay, in minutes, right? Set a fire to go down, a building will go down in minutes, but building takes a long time. Okay, so when you see that the things are changing, and the world has changed so rapidly, right? Even in my lifetime, it's just every decade is different from the other, and soon it's almost like people used to talk about decades, right? Well, before people used to talk about centuries. In this century, this is how life was, and this century, this is how life. And then it became the decades, right? The 60s, the 70s, the 80s, 90s. Now it's you talk about every 2-5 years, the world just changes completely. And that's usually a sign of things going worse. Okay, it's not acceleration, as I wrote here. It's a saying from one of the lectures of Martin Lings. I think he mentioned about that. So acceleration is usually a sign of degeneration rather than progress. Okay, and when things are falling in free fall, you jump out of a plane. As you fall down, you go faster and faster, right? Until you, of course, reach terminal velocity, but that's just due to air resistance. But you're going the fastest just before you hit the ground at your lowest point. Okay, so we shouldn't be fooled by that. So it's saying that mankind is always going to be in loss. It's always going to be, the human creature is generally a creature which is headed towards loss. Okay, but of course, the Quran doesn't just give this, it tells the solution to that. What is the solution? إِلَّا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالْحَقِّ وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالصَّبْرِ. Okay, except الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا, those who have faith. Okay, of course, in the translation they say believe, but I don't see that as iman is not belief. Okay, so this intellectual belief. It says إِلَّا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا. Okay, it doesn't say آمَنُوا بِاللَّهِ or it just said الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ. Now, many times in the Quran, that's it, right? إِنَّ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ لَهُمْ جَنَّاتُ النَّعِيمِ. Okay, they will be in paradise. They will be this. Okay, so this is not talking about, because adding some other things here, it's not talking about the next life. Okay, this whole thing, when talking about when is the human being in loss, we are not talking about the next life. The next life, there's no time anyway. I forgot to swear about. Okay, God is swearing about time. It's all about this world. Okay, so this surah is actually talking about this world, this dunya. This dunya, the human creature, is always going to be in loss, except what? Except الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ. But that's not enough. Okay, just that those who have faith and do good deeds, sort of by themselves, maybe little groups over here, they're just doing good. They have faith and do good works. That's not enough. That's not enough to arrest or stop this movement towards loss. Two other things are needed. Okay, the first one is وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالْحَقِّ. Okay, وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالْحَقِّ. Tawasaw means to mutually enjoin, to advise, to give counsel to each other. Okay, one to the other. Tawasaw, it's just reciprocal. reciprocal. Okay, this verb form in Arabic is a reciprocal thing. Tarasalu means they sent messages to each other. Okay, one person sends a message to this person, the other sends a message back. That's tarasul. Okay, and tawasul, similar sort of thing. Okay, you give each other advice. Okay, tawasul, like wasiya, yusikumullah, fi awladikum. The Quran says, Allah, advise you of this, advise this. Tawasul bil haqq. The first thing, tawasul bil haqq, by the truth. Okay, so they're mutually enjoying each other with the truth. What is true? Okay, what is haqq? What is real? Okay, haqq comes from al-haqiqa, right? The truth. What is reality? Okay, haqq is a reality. وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالصَّبْرِ. And the next thing is وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالصَّبْرِ. And also have patience. Okay, patience. That you have this tawasaw bil haqq, and in that you are patient. Again, all of that comes before you are patient in your faith, in your good deeds, and in your mutually enjoining each other to truth. You are patient. Okay, you are patient. That is the way you arrest this constant the humanity going towards loss. That is the only way it can be stopped. Okay, by those four things. People, you have to have faith, do good deeds, salihat. Salih is the things which make goodness. Okay, especially yuslih bayn an-nas, right? Bring people together, right? Reconciliation, something which is salih, something which is whole. Right? You're mending things. Okay, the opposite of al-mufsidin, right? Mufsidun fil ard. Okay, Allahu ya'lamu al-muslih min al-mufsid. God knows the difference between al-muslih and the mufsid. Okay, these are opposites, right? So they do the salihat. Okay, وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالْحَقِّ وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالصَّبْرِ. Okay, and this, I mentioned this in my, the video of God's Endgame, the verse where Allah says that, إِنَّ الْأَرْضَ يَرِثُهَا عِبَادِي الصَّالِحُونَ. Okay, the earth will be inherited by my servants, as-salihun, the righteous ones. Okay, and some of the commentators of that have said that it will be inherited by those who are al-aslah laha, the ones who are most befitting for the earth. Okay, the ones who are able to utilize it in the best way, the most productive way, in the way which is salih for it, which is in a wholesome way, almost, so to speak. Okay, so those are the people who will inherit it. But this is basically what I wanted to talk about. That when it comes to the what we look at globally, humanity globally. Okay, and we see that things are going from bad to worst. One of the reasons, the only way that this can be stopped from a global point of view, is through this. You have to have this mutual cooperation, this mutual advisory of truth. Okay, speaking out for the truth. Okay, and also being patient. Okay, things are not going to change overnight. Right? Even if you're doing all of these things are not going to change very quickly. You need to have sabr, and then it will continue and move on, and rectify a lot. And again, this is not about the akhirah. It's not about the next life. It's not saying that the one who doesn't do, they're not going to be in the akhirah. For the akhirah, all you need is الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ, right? Like many verses say. Okay, have faith, and in your faith you are doing good deeds. Right, the good deeds are what take you into paradise, into Jannah, what save you. Okay, but in this world, to stop this khusran, you need those four things. And it has to be done on a communal level. Now, the one thing I wanted to put forward is this question where, one of the, somebody once asked me to go on to this show of this atheist guy who does like these sort of call-in shows. I forget his name, Pinehurst or Pinehurst is some website, isn't it? Pine Creek, I'd say, right? Pine Creek. So I listened to a little bit of one of his things. It's long, so I can't watch those long videos. But one of the things that he had one time a Muslim calling in, and he was telling him, okay, what evidence do you have for your religion and stuff? And then Muslim, of course, said the Qur'an. That's our miracle. And of course, he said, your miracle doesn't do anything for me. What else have you got? Okay. And, this is where I think we need to, for those who truly understand the Qur'an, need to say, no, this is it. You need to take a closer look at it. Okay, so one of the things I thought, if I were ever to go on something like this, and I thought I'd share it with you, you can, put this forward to anybody else. Okay, a question is it this surah? It's a very short surah, just 3 verses. Okay, and it's given the wisdom, the idea of what it is that will bring people out of this state of loss, humanity, globally, out of this state of, this movement towards loss. That as time goes on, they will keep going into loss unless they do this. Okay, and the way it's constructed is very interesting as well. It's not saying you'll be successful if you do this, this, this. No, it's saying that to stop that the default is in khusr. Okay, so that needs to be analyzed in terms of anthropology or in terms of human history. That needs to be analyzed as well. Is that true? Right? Is the human being always going towards a state of loss? Okay, but what is it that can stop it? So you can put this into a question to somebody. You ask them, how would you improve the surah? Right, just ask that to anybody who sort of belittles the Quran. He sees it as something which is very trivial, because the Quran is one thing about it is that it can very easily go through in one ear and out the other. I don't think there's any other scripture or anything that can do that. It can so easily you can be reading the Quran, it can just wash over you, in through one ear out the other. And then, of course, there are sometimes where just something strikes you, okay? But, you have to sort of work hard sometimes at the Quran to just not allow yourself, because it just flows. Even though sometimes, it doesn't seem as if the one verse is connected to the other, etc. But once you start reading it, it's almost like you just go on, and it's very, very easy to just move from one verse to the next verse to the next verse without much consideration, without stopping and pausing to actually think and take it slowly and think of, let alone the verse, but think of each word. Okay, it's very easy for the Quran to just go through like that, and so putting this forward as this very short surah, how would you improve it? How would you improve? That's the theme of the surah, right? Is that the human being is in loss. Okay, take that, for example, just take that as a given. Okay, you can ask somebody, take that as a given, that the human being is a creature which is in loss. Okay, what would you add? How would you change this last verse? What would you say is better than it? Okay, and of course the contention from our side would be, no, this is it. This is the thing which will remedy, and you will not be able to find a different something else. Okay, which doesn't, which is a better remedy than this. So that's what I wanted to share with you today. Let me check the backstage, and let me check the chat as well. Assalamu alaikum, Adriana. Good to see you again. Quran is for prop. Quran is a prop for Muslims. A prop here, I suppose so. You'll be able to start a presentation. Who is this? Yes, you can come on. Just come on backstage, and I'll put you on. New Sif Genesis. All right, excellent, very good. Okay, let me try bringing some of our backstage guests on. Who do we have? Sam. Assalamu alaikum. Not Sam, sorry. Aslam. Sam, I'll get to you. Assalamu alaikum. Aslam, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good, alhamdulillah. Hope your health is better as of now.
Yeah, a little bit better. I mean, I've still got a bit of a headache, but it's nowhere near. Yesterday was horrendous. My God.
Alhamdulillah, it's better.
What happened. Yeah, alhamdulillah. How have you been?
Yeah, I've been good, and things are looking a bit positive as of now, because situation is improving relatively. We are in India also.
Alhamdulillah. I'm not too aware, to be honest, about what is happening in India. There's still a lot of. I know there's a lot of trouble over there with the what's they called, the Hindu flat, or are you talking about the COVID?
Yeah, yes, COVID, because there were so much issues with the shortages of oxygen and the
Okay.
medical infrastructure was shaken.
All
I
right.
mean, so
Okay.
I felt that some kind of a divine will was also involved. Such a big.
Mm.
So,
Mm.
Alhamdulillah, things are better now.
Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah.
So I
Yes.
wanted to get an understanding also. There are a lot of verses in the Quran which mentions about a godly loan, giving God a godly loan, godly loans.
Yeah.
I'm not. Uh, there are two understanding of this. One is that you contribute for people who are underprivileged, and one understanding is that you contribute for Quran propagation, like give for translation of Quran, amount for that purpose, give money for interfaith activities. So, what
Mm.
is that godly loan all about? And what about that thing is that if you contribute, then there will be 7 grains, and it will God will multiply. So, is it talking about the life after death, that aspect, or in this life as well? So, what about these godly loans and that specifically that sprouts or that grains, something that metaphor is used? So, can you
Yeah.
please throw some light on that?
I mean, I haven't looked into the what's called قرضا حسنا. من يقرض الله قرضا حسنا فيضاعفه له أضعافا كثيرا وله رزق كريم. Right? That's the
Yeah.
verse, and there's a number of verses of that, and it's just basically
Yes. Yes.
it's encouraging for the person to spend, okay, spend in the way of God, right? Who is going to
So
give
does
God a
it mean
godly
to
loan?
does it mean to spend on like dawa activities or to for like charity and
No, it's general. It's general. Anything which you spend, which is good for God. I mean, there was one, I mentioned one verse, a couple of verses. I don't know which stream it is now because we've done so many, um,
Mhm.
where they are asked, right. I think this is about the one which don't ask. Yeah, that stream,
Mhm.
right. That
Yeah.
they used to ask, okay, what should we spend? Should we spend on this? What should we do? How should we spend? Rather than just, again, um, God has told us to spend, okay, to give a loan in His cause, okay, and He's trusting you to use your judgment to do that in the best way, okay. But it is
Mhm.
qard al-hasana, okay, a good loan. So do, of course, it has to be on something which is good, of course.
Mhm.
But one of the verses says, ما أنفقتم من شيء فللوالدين والأقربين. Whatever good you spend, that it's for the parents, for the near, for the traveler. So anything which is good, just spend what is good, and that is like a loan, and you can do it in the point of saying it in that kind of way. Okay, من يقرض الله قرضا حسنا. It's supposed to be as if this is like a loan you're going to give, like a big thing, a big amount you're spending. It's not like the other
Yes.
verse where it's talking about spend a little or a lot. It's fine. Okay, in secret or secret or in public, right? This is more like
Yeah.
I'm going to it's like if you're going to give somebody a loan. When you're going to give somebody a
Mhm.
loan, it's not like £10 or whatever it is. It's not that's not a loan. Okay, £10 is not a
Mhm.
loan. Okay, a loan when you give to somebody, it's actually a big thing. It's a big amount, right? Like you're going to give somebody a loan, like the banks give loans, right? You give somebody a loan so they can buy a house, or you give somebody that sort of thing. For example, you could do it in a way where literally do that. If somebody who has a lot of money, a loan for them would
Mhm.
be, okay, I'm going to buy somebody a house for them, right? Somebody who's homeless on the street, I'll buy them a house. There you go. Okay,
Mhm.
that's a loan for God, right? So
Mhm.
it means that kind of thing. The other verse you mentioned, which is مثل حبة, this is what I mean, where it's talking about even something which is small, right? A small amount spent. Where it says, the example of those who spend in the way of God is like a seed, and a seed is something small, right? A seed which sprouts
Yes.
and
Yes.
gives and which sprouts and makes 7 ears, the for, like the in terms of the corn and the wheat and that kind of stuff, right? And in each one you have 100 seeds. Okay, so it's also talking about how charity, that kind of charity, can
Yes.
beget more charity. Okay, but in session he's talking about the reward. Okay, so your what you spend in the way of God, it has to be in the way of God. Okay, spent in the way of God. It's anything which is good. all right? You have to just spend, all right? And then it will multiply in terms of its reward. It will multiply. And this is again like another verse in the Quran where God says, إن الله لا يظلم الناس مثقال ذرة. God is not unjust to the people, even the amount of a dharra. Dharra, they translate usually as atom, because now in modern science the atom is called dharra, but dharra means like a very, the smallest ant. Okay, so God does not is not unjust, even the weight of a smallest ant. And وإن تكن حسنة, and if there is a hasana, يضاعفها ويؤتي من لدنه أجرا عظيما. And if there is a good deed, He multiplies it. Okay, that good deed, even the amount of an ant, He multiplies it and gives from His presence an immense reward. So that's along those same lines.
So, but these blessings, is it like after death of one person gets these blessings of this thing?
It's reward and ranks with God, and لكل درجات مما عملوا. God says in the Quran. So all will have ranks based on what they did.
But the blessings of like giving like a godly loan, the blessings which are mentioned that it will multiply. So it will happen in this life or the post-death period?
No, it's in the next life. It's in the next life.
All right.
Yeah, no, it's talking about the rewards there. It doesn't mean that don't get trapped by some of that rhetoric which tells you, that whatever you spend, whatever charity you give, you're gonna get the same amount back in this world. No, it's not that way.
Yeah.
Okay, it's not that way. Okay.
Correct, because usually people propagate it like this. People who ask for donations, like Muslim organizations,
No. Yeah, there are like hadiths and stuff, but that's just trying to make people to spend more. They're just one of the most important things that unfortunately the Ummah has forgotten is that it's not to hoard wealth. If you have enough money, you have the essentials. You have your own house. You own it. And that's unfortunately most of us were not like that. If you have your own house, you own it. Okay, you have your own mode of transportation. You have basically all the essentials, the main essentials of life. Okay, you have all of them in place. Okay, and you should not be hoarding wealth for its sake. You should always be spending whatever amount you have. Never have more wealth than you need to live by for a year.
Thank you so much. And I wanted to get one more thing I wanted to ask. Is like, let's say if we have a brother who if we assist him like financially something, and then we find out that the money is being misused. Okay, and then we discuss among each other. So will that be counted as a ghibat, which Quran mentions that like it's like eating a flesh?
No. When you're talking about when you discuss riba, the backbiting is not that. Backbiting is to basically speak about somebody behind their back in the way which they would not like. Okay, in the way which they would not like. So to speak about somebody behind their backs, not to speak to somebody you've given a loan to and stuff like that. Nor is it even to take advice. Okay, it's not even to. It's basically this kind of like bad gossiping that people do behind each other's back. That's what riba is. You to talk about somebody behind their back. That you don't. But if it's to discuss, let's say you've got somebody, who you've lent money to, okay, and they're not. When you suspect that you suspect, you're not sure, or something like that. So then you'll go and speak to somebody else who has had financial dealings with them and ask them, hey, look, I've had some dealings with this person. Tell me how has been your experience, stuff like that. Just the common sense. Okay, the point is not to be malicious and speak to speak to other people about people behind their back of something which there's just no need.
Okay? Because the metaphor which is used is very strong. That like a flesh or something, it is a very strong metaphor. So person taken up.
Yeah. It is because it's a lowly thing to do. It's a lowly thing to do. Somebody, and an interesting thing, and you'll find this to be true. But it's a saying. Whoever backbites to you, whoever comes to you and tells you, oh, do you know about this person? He does this. Whoever does that to you will do that about you as well. If they've done that about somebody else, then believe it. That when they're with somebody else, they're going to do that about you as well. Okay, if they have something to say. So, you know, الصمت حكمة وقليل فاعل used to say, right? Silence is wisdom, and the few are silent. All right, okay. If you don't mind, I'm going to try and bring
Yeah,
some.
Jazakallah khair. Yeah, thank you so much, yes.
No problem. I have one
Jazakallah khair.
So now, okay, let's bring in Hector. Next one in line. I'm just going through these in order. Assalamu alaikum, Hector.
Wa alaikum assalam. How have you been?
Alhamdulillah. How have you been?
Good, good, good. I wasn't able to attend the last few reunions, I guess you can say. A lot of work, a lot of work, a lot of work.
Yeah. You're finishing soon, though, aren't you? You said.
Excuse me?
I said you're finishing soon, right?
Well, no, the last 2 Saturdays I had to work. I was very stressed out with work, so I couldn't
All
attend.
right, okay.
No, but yeah,
No.
and I saw today was Sunday. I was like, okay, this can help. Thank you for sharing this surah. It's very important surah, right?
Yeah.
I'm looking at the question that you still have posted up. How would this surah be improved? I don't, like you said, I don't think this surah can be improved, right? And
it's an interesting thing to think about, just for your own self, just to contemplate it. What other things, what would you swap out, for example, not even improve? What would you swap out to say, okay, what will help humanity better than for example, let's say instead of saying وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالصَّبْرِ, let's say وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالرَّحْمَةِ, with mercy, right? Would that be an improvement? Okay, would it be more important? Okay, or sabr and rather, just think of it in that kind of way, instead of saying, okay, this would have been better if God had said rahmah, all right, and then just actually think about that. Would that be better? Is that something which, in the long term, is what will, stop the downward spiral of humanity? Would it?
Interesting.
And for example, when you think of it in terms of time, okay, because when you're talking about time, you're going to need to sort of what's called tadawi, when you to fix something which is a problem of time, okay, then you're going to need patience, right? You have to have patience for something which so, and that kind of way you say no, it has to be patient, and you need to have patience in speaking the truth. Okay, well, if you say rahma, okay, then sometimes you'll say, okay, but something is, this person is in the wrong, but let's have mercy on him. Let's not speak to him. Let's leave him. Maybe he will correct himself soon. These kind of things, right? So then it could dampen down this, because to say al-haq, tawasaw bil-haq is one of the qualities of jalal, as they'd say, right? Of jalal, right? That of majesty. No, that the haq is haq. We say it as it is, and it's not about being merciful or soft with something. It's about putting it as it is. Okay, وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالْحَقِّ. And if you put that with okay, rahma, yes, you can have the rahma, but does that mitigate some of that, that sharpness of the haqq that you need in order to rectify things? So this is what I mean. You can contemplate this and think, okay, how could this surah be improved? Or maybe by adding something else, or something missing. Okay, instead of saying, why even الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا? Why does it have to be that? Why don't you put something else? Okay, how about just إِلَّا الَّذِينَ تَوَاصَوْا بِالْحَقِّ وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالصَّبْرِ? Why is faith important? Okay, and so you can think of it in a lot of different ways.
Interesting. Can you go back to the second ayat of the surah, please, or the third ayat of the surah, please? Yeah, right here. Interesting. Yeah, I mean, sometimes I question that. Why does Allah choose a certain word to express a certain idea in a certain context, right? I saw that today when I was studying earlier with a friend of mine on Surat al ayat 178, where it's talking about capital punishment. I guess you can say, retribution. It's talking about retribution and forgive. And it's funny that in that surah, when Allah talks about forgiving the person who perpetrated the crime, Allah doesn't use any words such as for example, the murderer or the one that perpetrated the crime. He uses the word brother, your brother.
Yeah.
Interesting. So it's interesting that Allah uses these four qualities uh, to describe the person who's not lost. Now, this loss is
Not just the person, because it's not talking about one person. Okay, it's reciprocal. Okay, this is talking about a community. Okay, it's talking about a community. Except those إلا الذين. So
those.
even if the whole of even if the whole of humanity is still going to be going down, okay, so that's basically the picture which is being painted here, right? إن الإنسان لفي خسر. The human being is in loss, is going down. Except, okay, and the exception is made for these. إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. Those who are in this kind of community, who themselves الذين آمنوا, and they do good deeds. So it doesn't say الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات then you can't even say it by itself, or you could say تبعوا الحق and were patient. It doesn't say those who have faith and did good deeds and spoke the truth and were patient. No, it has to be وتواصوا بالحق. Mutually enjoying each other to truth and mutually enjoying each other. Now, why is it doesn't say, for example, الذين آمنوا وتواصوا بالعمل الصالح? Why doesn't say mutually enjoying each other to do good deeds? Why is it only تواصوا بالحق and تواصوا بالصبر? So you can think of it in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I'm noticing that. Why doesn't it say that? That's a good question. Now, this faith here, is it just faith? I mean, can it be just faith? It's only faith in Allah, or can it be faith in oneself? I think I can do this.
Yeah, I mean, look, I look at the concept of iman. Iman is shu'ur. It's to have this sort of trust. Sometimes I think it's better to just say, except those who have trust. Trust in the future. As a basic sort of baseline definition, you can have it as sort of somebody who has trust in the future. Okay, if you are going to be somebody who is working to the future, for the betterment of your community, you need to have some sort of faith in the future. Okay, nobody ever does anything without having some sort of faith in it. Okay, some sort of idea. This is almost like the opposite of this sort of nihilistic thing that nothing matters. Why should I do this? Why should anything? What? You can't be a person of amal salih really without some sort of faith. Okay, that's the important thing, and that's why I made that video about why God says who He loves and who He doesn't love, and one of the ones He doesn't say that He loves is mu'mineen. Right? Never in the Quran does God say that He loves the believers, not even once. Okay, because it's not, but faith is still important. Okay, it's almost a prerequisite to be able to do anything good. Okay, because everything which is good is it's something which is almost to the future. Okay, you're doing something on trust, right? Something based on the future. Now, some people, their faith, they just have this inner faith. It's got nothing. Sometimes it's not even, they would even reject the idea of belief in a personal God, right? But they believe in the future will be okay. The future is for the righteousness. The future is for goodness. They believe in something called goodness, that it's worth going for, worth striving for. That sort of thing. So, الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا, it's open here. It's not saying الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا بِاللَّهِ. It doesn't say الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا. There are verses which talk about that, right? Yeah. مَنْ كَانَ يُؤْمِنْ بِاللَّهِ وَالْيَوْمِ الْآخِرِ. There are many verses like that. Those who believe in God and then the last day. Believe in God and the last day. Or those who believe in God. Okay? But here it's not, it's just saying الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا. Okay? It's open. And it's more general than the al-mu'mineen. So that's another thing you can ask here. Why doesn't it say إِلَّا الْمُؤْمِنِينَ? Why doesn't it say إِلَّا الْمُؤْمِنِينَ الَّذِينَ عَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ? It doesn't say that, okay? And the mu'mineen in the Quran is a more exclusive group, okay? God defines them in the Quran. إِنَّمَا الْمُؤْمِنُونَ الَّذِينَ. Truly the mu'minun are only those who are, okay, there are two verses in the Quran which start like that. إِنَّمَا الْمُؤْمِنُونَ الَّذِينَ. Truly only the mu'minun are those who, okay? So it's much more specific. الذين آمنوا, even the munafiqeen enter into that really. Okay? It's basically just the community. Sometimes when it talks about that, it just means the community. Okay, the whole community of faithful. Okay, but if you take it to its meaning, it means those who just have faith. But we know when God addresses Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, okay, in the Quran, it's including, when it's addressing those who are there around the Prophet, it's including everybody who's there. The true believers and the hypocrites, everybody. It's included in that kind of address.
So would you say that like if I have a friend that's non-Muslim, right, and this individual feels like depressed or like hopeless, right? I can say, hey, look, you know what? If you really want to get out of that state, believe, do good deeds, and help others, and be around others that help you towards the truth and towards patience.
Yeah, you could definitely say that. Faith comes, I mean, in most of these verses, of course, there's alladhina amanu, those who have faith and do good deeds. But in the verse which is for Arab, those who say they have faith, right? They say we have faith, we've had iman. In response, they told, قُلْ لَمْ تُؤْمِنُوا, tell them no, you don't have faith. Okay. وَلَمَّا يَدْخُلُ الْإِيمَانُ فِي قُلُوبِكُمْ, until iman enters your heart. Okay, iman has to enter the heart. It's not an intellectual thing. Iman enters the heart. Okay, and the way it enters the heart is through action. Okay, iman actually enters through action. It's almost a reciprocal thing, right? You have your iman causes you to do good actions, but you need to have a sort of like a leap of faith first. Okay, start doing certain good actions, and you will see, through these, iman enters the heart. So when people say, "How do I gain faith? How do I?" No, just be, first things first. Start acting rightly. Okay, those who take the truth will be given truth, right? Those who take falsehood will be given more falsehood, right? There's the if you're going to advise anybody one single thing, you advise them to stop all lying, just completely cut that out, right?
Yeah.
Stop the start of it. The start of it, just make that as the first thing. Okay, I'm never gonna lie. I'm never gonna say something which is not true again. Okay, that opens up, from that step by step, it opens up iman and everything else. There's actually a video I've been meaning to do about that, about taqwa and birr and sidq, and how they are related. The Prophet actually mentioned them in a hadith, which I think he took from a verse in the Quran, right? He said, "Inna as-sidq yahdi ila al-birr, wa inna al-birr yahdi ila al-jannah." Right? Sidq guides to birr, and birr guides to Jannah. And a person keeps on speaking sidq and seeking it until he's written with God, one of the siddiqeen, one of the, the saintly, verifiers of truth.
Is that an ayat?
No, so that's a hadith, but I think he's taken it from the ayah, which is the verse of birr, ليس البر أن تولوا وجوهكم قبل المشرق والمغرب ولكن البر من. That verse,
yes,
famous
verse. I know that verse.
Yeah, and at the end of it says أولئك الذين صدقوا وأولئك هم المتقون. Those are those who had صدقوا in the past. So it's as if it's saying, okay, they achieved all of this because of their sidq. So the sidq came first. Then this outer manifestation, which is the outer manifestation of taqwa, is birr, and these are the muttaqun. Because I see that birr is basically the outward actions which emanate from taqwa. So at the end of
okay, that's interesting because I was studying that ayat last week. In depth with a friend in a group, so it's interesting that you bring that up again.
Yeah, read it alongside that other famous the hadith of the Prophet where he's talking about sidq and birr, right? It's basically almost he's taken that from that verse of the Quran, because in the end he says, okay, this would guide you to Jannah, and in the end, the muttaqeen, the Jannah is for muttaqeen, right? So it's basically taken that the hadith is extracted from that verse.
I'll find that hadith. Okay, I really appreciate the time that you gave me on the platform.
No problem.
Inshallah,
no problem.
We'll see each other next week.
Thank you so much.
Jazakallah khair. Assalamu
alaikum. Assalam. Jazakallah. Okay, let's see who else we have. Sam. Oh, Sam disappeared just now. Oh no, he's there. Okay. Assalamu alaikum, Sam. How are you?
Assalamu alaikum. I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm good. How have you been?
Yeah, good. Thanks. Good. Yeah. I just wanted to talk about the verse about the what's it called? You had in your description.
Yeah, no. Well, tell me it because I'm going to find it because you bring up some nice sources to speak about. Let me try and share my screen for that. But yeah, tell me which verse it is, and you make a start, and I'll try
Yeah,
and put it up.
Surah al Baqarah 2:23. Sorry, Surah al Baqarah 23, verse 23.
Okay. Just give me a second. I'm going to remove this. Yeah, go read it for us while I try and share it.
Yeah,
So,
it says,
Surah Al-Baqarah, verse 23, yes?
yeah, 23. Sorry, 23 to 24. It says,
23, 24.
and if you are in doubt about what we have sent down upon our servant, then produce a surah like the like thereof, and call upon your witnesses other than God, if you should be truthful. But if you do not, and you will never be able to, then fear the fire, whose fuel is men and stones, prepared for the kafirin.
Yes, this is the actually I put a I don't know if you saw, but in the description I put in my own sort of guidelines for completion. This is about the Quran's challenge. For those, of course, this is the famous Quran's challenge. That if you are in doubt about what we have revealed to our servant, then bring forth a surah like it. Yes, go ahead. What did you want to...
Yeah, well, my understanding of this verse here, it just means that there is no one else that can produce a verse from God unless it comes from God. So it's not, for me, it's not about of the eloquence of the Quran or the way the Quran is written. It's more about, it's a simple fact that if you are truthful, no one can say, I have a verse from God. That was it. As simple as that.
Well, what do you say of the when kuntum fi, and if you are in doubt? So it's speaking to people of doubt, imanzim, and it says fatu. So, what do you make of that?
Yeah, so
don't
I
you
mean,
don't you see it as a form of challenge?
I don't know. I don't see the challenge. I mean, if there is, it's also kind. Yeah, I don't see the challenge, and it's also kind of, it makes you question. The only way someone could come up with a verse from God or a revelation from God is from God Himself. There is no one else that would be born with the knowledge of God, or there's no other way to get the verse from God. And
yeah, no, that's true. That's true, but it's not even talking about a verse. It's basically talking about a surah.
yeah, surah.
So it's talking about a surah like it from what was revealed at Abdina, right? So it's talking about the Prophet. Okay, so it's talking about that, and also don't forget there's other verse says fatu bi ashri suri muftariyatin, right? Bring 10 other surahs also invented, right? Because in that verse it's saying, and they say he invented it, al iftarahu, that he made it up. Okay, so then the Quran is saying, fatu qul, say to them, then you also bring forth 10 surahs also invented. So I definitely see it as a challenge, a challenge, and I see it as I put in that post, that it's a challenge meant to alleviate the doubts of the doubters. So one thing
The
that
thing
you will
is,
get.
when you got doubt, I mean, if it's something from God, yeah, you expect a miracle to be performed to allay your doubt. And most of your prophets that were sent down, they show miracles. So there was no doubt.
But here's the thing: how many of those who had the miracles and showed miracles, how many of the people believed?
Yeah, no. Well, apart from
Very few, right? That's exactly what the Quran says. It says, ما منعنا نرسل بالآيات إلا أن كذب به الأولون. That nothing has prevented us from sending these great signs except that the former peoples, they rejected them. They said, this is sihr, this is magic. They rejected them, right? Look at Isa, what he did. Okay, and in the end, فلما حس عيسى منهم الكفر قال من أنصار إلى الله. When Isa saw sense from them kufr, he said, who will be my helpers to God? And he had just those disciples, right? So the miracles, in fact, are one of the least convincing of things. I think that I've been, but people have asked for them. Whereas
but
and the thing about this, that the Quran is saying that even if none of us is saying قل إن اجتمعت الجن والإنس على يأتوا بهذا القرآن لا يأتوا بمثله, even if the jinn and mankind, they each separately, if all the jinn got together and all of humankind got together to try and make like this Quran, they would not be able to. And then Quran further says, and even if they helped each other, so even if the jinn and the mankind then both helped each other, they would not be able to. So that's I see that as okay, you will not be able to make something like this. Okay, and that it all ties into this. This is the first verse in the Quran which mentions it, but it all ties into that.
yeah, but if you take this
And
objectively, I mean, the way to test it objectively, you would have a book, and say from God, and you would give it to an atheist and say, this is from God, do you believe it? You can't, otherwise you can't tell someone to look at the eloquence of this book, and that's a miracle, because to someone here, just it'll be just a bunch of words.
yeah, I don't think it's about eloquence, and also I don't think that if God had wanted it to be something which is going to make people believe in that kind of way, that he, like he said in the Quran, لو شئنا لنزلنا آية فظلت أعناقهم لها خاضعين. If we had wanted, we would have sent just one ayah, never mind the whole Quran, just one ayah, and from that one ayah, everybody's necks would have been bent perpetually, out of humility to God. Right, if God had wanted it, but it isn't about that.
But isn't that, does that mean that's a miracle?
Well, I don't think it's a miracle. I mean, I've
No, I'm
never
saying
watched
in that context where it said that the heads would have been.
Yeah, that's what it says here. In that thing will be a miracle, right? Saying if we had, God said, if we had wanted to do that, we would have done that.
Yeah.
But the Quran isn't about that. Okay, the Quran, and one of the things that's very misunderstood about the Quran is that it's meant to increase the لا يزيد الظالمين إلا خسارة, will increase the oppressors in loss. Okay, and it will increase, أما الذين في قلوبهم رجس فزادتهم رجسا إلى رجسهم. As for those in whose hearts is a disease, it will increase their disease on top of their disease. Okay, it's meant to function in this world. And what is the function of this world? It's the ibtila, it's the farz, right? The dividing of mankind, who will follow the way of shaitan, who will follow the way of ar-Rahman, right? It's sifting out, and the Quran does that. I mean, one of the big signs of the Quran for me is that there's no book in history which has been hated more, which is even now hated more than the Quran is hated, nor loved more than the Quran is loved. It polarizes completely, just like this world is meant to.
But what about the Bible?
I don't think as much. Well, in the end, it's the Bible is also, in the end, it's scripture, right, from God. Not all of it, but that's where its origins comes from. But but you can extend that to all of the revelations of God, right? Well, God brings His revelations into this world. It will do that to people. It will push people to both sides. Okay, it will polarize. You can't sit the fence with the Quran. You can't sit the fence. You can't say, okay, I'm not sure. You won't be able to sit the fence for long. Even this is pushing you to that. This challenge, which you understand that way, but most people understand it as a challenge, right? And there are some people who just by the virtue of this challenge, they think it's ridiculous. They are repulsed by the Quran even more. They say, come on, this is silly. This is subjective. This thing. I say, okay, then fine. That means even more so, you are being pushed away by the Quran. Right? Whereas others, they look at it and they say, no, look, I can't see anything which is matching to this challenge.
When I first read the Quran, I mean, I didn't see anything miracles in it. I mean, it took a while for me to understand it, and even now, I mean, we got the recently they found the numerical. The numerical analysis, and that's great. But for me personally, I didn't see the book, even the Bible, I didn't see the book as being very special. I mean, in terms of literary way.
Yeah.
I mean, someone who knows the original language, they'll see that. But personally, when I'm reading the translations, I don't see
Oh
it.
no, not even necessarily that. I mean, don't forget there are many people who are Arabic speaking and they're not Muslim. You've got Arabic, atheists, Christians, Jews. They can all understand the Arabic and they don't believe. Okay, they don't look at it that way. Okay,
Yeah.
so it's not the Quran is it's I think its purpose is misunderstood a lot of the time. It's not meant to be this kind of that kind of miracle. Okay, it's supposed to be something which you can actually think about, you can actually think about and ponder over.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's how I look at it. And I mean, for example, like I said, in this thing about Surat al Asr, right? So, how would you improve Surat al Asr, right? That's a question you can put to yourself, right? It's not very special. Well, of course, I know you do think that, but just as yourself, right? Because even like us, right? I mean, born Arabic speaker and stuff. But even when we were first, growing up reading the Quran, at first, we don't see it as something special, right? It doesn't seem that way. But again, this is why one of the things I mentioned. It's very easy for the Quran to go in through one ear and out the other. Okay, unless you actually stop and say, okay, let me actually think about this word for word. Okay, then you start to see how really amazing and special it is. But if you're just gonna open it up and just read through it verse after verse after verse, yeah, it will wash over you very easily. It will seem like a disjointed jumble. It will seem like nonsense, and that's part of what it's supposed to elicit, I suppose. لا يزيد الظالمين إلا خسارة. If you're not gonna slow down with the Quran, it's gonna push you away.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's God. How often in the Quran does God talk about those who can hear and those who can see? Okay, the Prophet, God says that إنك لا تسمع الموتى. You're not going to make the dead people hear. The dead will not be able to hear. What is that? It's not talking about the actual dead in the grave. So when these people, they're like dead. Okay, they can't really hear what you're saying. وتراهم ينظرون إليك وهم لا يبصرون. And you see them looking at you, O Muhammad, but they can't even see you. Okay, they look, but they can't see. Okay, they listen, but they can't hear. Right? They're not willing to actually think. Okay, أولئك كالأنعام بل هم أضل. They are like cattle, or even more astray. No, the Quran is meant for a human being. Okay, لينذر من كان حيا ويحق القول على الكافرين. To warn the one who is alive. You have to have some life in you, and if you're completely dead inside, the Quran is not going to affect. But then, of course, the Quran also says, يَعْلَمُوا أَنَّ اللَّهَ يُحْيِي الْأَرْضَ بَعْدَ مَوْتِهَا. God, brings forth the earth after its death. So even those whose hearts are dead, they can be revived. Okay, so it's not the Quran is for ulul albab, it's for ahl al-dhikr. It's not just it's not gonna help everybody. Al-Zalimin will never be the oppressive. They're never going to be helped by the Quran. They're never going to see it as a miracle. You will see it as the most ridiculous text ever.
Yeah.
Okay? And most of us are going to be in the spectrum between that. We're going to be like, somewhere along that line. And as much as we give to the Quran, we receive. As much as we put into it, we'll bring back. But it takes real deliberation. It takes real thought, real deliberation. Ask yourselves the questions about it. Challenge yourself with it. Like I said here, I challenge anybody to try and improve Surah al Asr. Very short surah. A known idea, what it's talking about, what it's aiming for. It's talking about about time and how humanity is in loss, and it's telling us how to stop that, how to arrest that. إِلَّا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا. That stops by the way, that only stops the loss. That doesn't mean that they're I think it also means that they're going to be increasing, because like I said, nothing, humanity is either always going to be going up or going down. A community is always either improving or getting worse. Okay, so if you stop it from getting worse, from khusr, then they're going to be on the upward. So I'd like to see anybody try and improve that surah. Yeah.
So I'll go through verse. So Surah Al-Baqarah, verse 91 as well.
91.
Talks about.
Okay. Come on. This is there we go. What is this verse? Do you want to read it? Go ahead, read it first, please.
Yes, and when is it said to them, believe? Yeah, you got it there. Yeah, so that's the one.
Yeah.
And why
Go
did
ahead
you
and read
kill?
the translation you had. Yeah.
Oh, it's okay.
Yeah. Go ahead, read the translation that you have for us. So we know
One
which
second.
one you're looking at.
No, I can see the one you got on. That's the same one.
Okay, which translation were you looking about? Okay, let's read it. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان.
It's the
وإذا
same one.
قيل
It's
لهم
fine.
آمنوا بما أنزل الله قالوا نؤمن بما أنزل علينا ويكفرون بما وراءه والحق مصدقا لما معهم. So they say, when it's said to them, have faith in what God has sent, what God has sent down. They say we have faith in what was revealed to us, and they, يكفرون, and they reject what is behind that. وهو الحق مصدقا لما معهم, even though it's the truth, confirming what is with them. قل فلم تقتلون أنبياء الله من قبل إن كنتم صادقين. Say to them, why then do you kill the prophets of God before, if you were indeed of the mu'min, of the faithful? Yes.
I think what this means, is this is God addressing the Jews at the time of the prophet, and he's saying basically, them Jews, they got the same hearts as the Jews of the past when they killed their prophets that God sent to them. So like they killed Jeremiah, Isaiah, and some other prophets, and basically, the reason why I said you kill him is because they got the same hearts. So that's why.
That's definitely something which I agree with. I've mentioned that before as well. Why did they say that? Just because God made them culprits in that. Because also I say basically because they were defending it. They're defending.
When you say
when you defend yourself.
How would you say they're defending it?
So they said, it was just what we did, right?
What did he say that?
Well, that's what I'm saying, that in understanding that, why is God blaming them, those Jews at the time of the prophet? Why is he blaming them for killing the prophets before? Because there was why are they saying that they didn't kill them, right? This is in the past. Okay.
Yeah.
But they bear, I think they bear, God is placing upon them the same responsibility, because like you said, they have the same hearts, in terms of if they had been there, they would have done it as well.
Yeah.
Right?
Or
They
even
felt
now,
they justified, basically. They said no. They'll make excuses. You make excuses. Oh yeah, but we killed this prophet. Okay, but if a normal person had done what this prophet had done, we would kill him. We were justified. Okay, maybe it's only wrong just because of the prophet. They would basically make excuses. Yeah.
I'm saying if you all the Jews now, they will revere all the prophets that were killed, that are martyred, and they call them martyrs. But I think God's trying to say, look, by the fact that you reject the Prophet Muhammad, you're doing it again. In the past, every time, God sent a prophet, they didn't like what he said. They'd either kill him or reject him. They didn't want to listen to him. And the fact that God sent another revelation, which they should have recognized, but most of them, still reject it. And they even rejected at the time of Jesus. When Jesus came to them, the Jews rejected him, and they wanted to kill him, and they boasted they killed him. So for me, it just shows no matter what generation of these people are, they got the same hearts when they reject the revelation that comes down to them. And that's why it says, you kill the prophets, because if the Prophet Muhammad was sent to the Jews, I think they would try to kill him. So because he was not a Jew, they left him alone.
All right. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I see that. I see what you're saying with that. Makes sense. All right. Okay. Let me try and bring on a few other people now, because we're getting on to we're going off past an hour. Jazakallah khair. Yeah. Thank you for that, Sam. And let's see if we can get somebody else on. Bismillah. Let's see. Okay. Salam, Sam. And let's see. Lee. Liii. Right? Just Lee. Is that all right?
Yep, it's me.
Hi, how are you, Lee?
Alhamdulillah, how you doing? Long time.
Good. Alhamdulillah.
I always miss
you. I'm spoken to you. I think we've got a different username for you. Who are you last time?
I'm Ali. I just put Lee. I was driving. So
Ali. Okay, Ali. Yes, alhamdulillah. How have you been?
Alhamdulillah, how are you?
Good, good. Alhamdulillah.
Wow, this was a very interesting conversation from some of the guests that you had. I just wanted to talk about or just comment on the Surat al Asr. Um,
Mm-hmm.
it's a very short but very beautiful surah in my opinion, especially when it's the patience and the truth. And then the challenge that you made or that you brought up, how would you improve it, so to speak? Obviously it's a challenge to make someone to think rather than try to improve it, because if they try to improve it, obviously I think it would lose its beauty and its meaning. And I think also sometimes people don't have the opportunity to really ponder over certain surahs or ayats, because they only take what the past scholars or their sheikhs today tell them that a surah means. So they just take it, oh, this means that. And so I think they don't really have the opportunity to sit down and take something for what it would mean to them. It's like, oh,
Yeah, definitely agree.
this sheikh said that this surah means that, so that's what it means. And I think some of the beauty and the impact that the Quran can have on us as Muslims is really lost because we don't get an opportunity to look at it for ourselves and what it
Yeah,
means. And I think that's something that even for myself we all have to do is look at it and read it for ourselves. And what is it? Even if you come to the same conclusion that someone else did or tells you that it is, at least you have the opportunity to find out what it means to you, because then it comes with a different,
yeah.
and I find
No,
that
I definitely agree.
I find
Yeah, I
that
definitely agree, 100%.
you read some, you're like, before you even read a surah, automatically you're like, oh well, I read something by this sheikh or this sheikh, and this is what it means. And it's like you're robbing yourself to have that true connection with Allah, and to have that impact in your heart when you gain that closeness to the surah or to the words of the Quran.
Yeah.
And then when you were saying about, I think that, like, we hold the Quran as it's a book for the Muslims only. You know what I mean? And I think there's so much that the Quran has to offer because it comes from the Lord of all the worlds, not just the Lord of the Muslims. Allah is the Lord and the creator of all of us. And I think if we can share some of what we know and some of the messages, and the things that we're told to do from the Quran, and share with people, is something that's not is just exclusive to us, we can, impact other people. Just something small as, when Allah tells us to take care of the poor and feed the poor and feed the needy and give donations and stuff like that. These are things that we can share with people who are not Muslims, you know what I mean, in a way that is just not only for us to do. And I think we could help a lot of people and help the condition of humanity as a whole if we just share things in a way where it's just not, oh, if you're not a Muslim, then this commandment or this thing doesn't help you. Like, currently I'm engaged right now. She's not Muslim. Inshallah, I'm gonna get married to her. But I share certain things, like I tell her, I encourage her to, not curse and not do other things, and to, feed someone. If you see a homeless person, just whatever you have, give it to them, and then be truthful and be kind to your parents, things of that nature. I feel like if we can just take out certain things and certain, let's say, just commandments or stuff that Allah tells us to do, and share it with other people, I think we can just bring more positivity to the world, instead of it being this, oh, this book is only for us, when it's clearly not, because there's mentions and there's things that in the Quran that are not just to us as Muslims, it's to all people. And you find, Muslims saying, oh well, you're not Muslim, you're going to go to the fire. But there's been verses in the Quran where Allah says, if you just believe in the last day, you believe in Allah, or you believe in God, you believe in the last day, and you do good deeds, then you'll be amongst those who are winners. I don't think that's specific just to the Muslims. I think that's to anyone. So I feel like if we just take certain things and share it in a way that's being more connective of other people, because we know that everyone's not going to become Muslim. We know this. If that's what Allah wanted, He would have done that. And I think that's one of the things that's so dynamic about the Quran is anyone can read it and take out some amazing thing that can help their life. So I feel like if we just pull out things that are very virtuous and very positive, then we can spread more positivity instead of trying to just convert everybody to Muslim or say, oh, you're not Muslim, then this does anything you do doesn't matter. Because I've been engaged with Muslims in conversation that they're saying, oh, well, they can do anything that any good in this world, but they're not Muslim, so it doesn't matter. And I think that's such a negative outlook, especially if
very negative, very negative.
we want to change the conditions or do righteous deeds as Muslims. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Even if that was true, even if we were to say, whatever they do, it's not going to help them in the next life, we still should be encouraging them to goodness, right? If we can encourage that, that would help, that would improve the world around us, right? For us, our children, our communities, everybody, right? So even if that were the case, okay, that's no reason to slack on, on spreading virtues to everybody else. But what you said, I mean, that's a very important thing in terms of, trying to make the Quran accessible, as something which is just, and the Quran helps itself in that kind of way. It's not like the Bible, right, where you sort of have to, it has a beginning at the end, a whole story. You can just take out one surah, right, and share it with somebody. And in this day and age where there's less and less reading, people are reading less and less. It's very easy. I mean, that's something I think, if we could get people to actually do that in a way where you can get people to, reach out, let parts of the Quran reach out to everybody, to mankind, right? It doesn't have to be that you give somebody the whole Quran for them to read. You could have just one surah, right, that you really love, Surat al Rahman or surah, a very short surah, and you can just share that. I mean, I would like to see more of that, to be honest, like little booklets of just short, just one surah, right? You can just, like pamphlets, so I have these Islam pamphlets, right, where they have all these things, why you should convert, and they go through, just one which is just a surah, right, a translation of a surah that can be given out to people, right, of Surah Yusuf, for example, right, of anything like that, just to make, like you said, share out parts of the Quran, because in the West especially, people are very ignorant of the Quran. They have no clue about what's inside it, right? Very, very little, and only those who actually sit down to read it all and end up reading anything of it really. And the rest are they all just hear snippets of it here and there. I definitely wholeheartedly agree that we should try to allow parts of the Quran to reach out to other people, and it addresses all these other people. I mean, we even have right. There's a scholar, he wrote a book called the call to mankind in the Quran, which where he basically just puts all the verses where it says Ya ayyuhan nas, or you mankind. Right, that's one. That's something. If somebody could do that, right, get a hold of that pamphlet or that thing and just have those verses translated. Said this is what's addressing you in the Quran, right? It's not addressing Muslims. It's addressing mankind. Or Bani Adam, when it's calling Bani Adam, Ya Bani Adam, or children of Adam, right? Or mankind. Just have those verses and share them out with people. That would be something which is very positive.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No, I that's one thing I feel like when you said, like, when you're talking about Surat al Asr and how can we, certain things that we can do to help, improve the downward spiral of humanity is share certain things. Sometimes we either like to throw the book at people or make it something that's only specific to us, but we know that isn't true. There's so much beauty in the Quran that we can just say they took out certain small little things and just share it with people. And the good stuff, we don't have to get them to believe every single thing or accept the story of Isa or accept the story of all these other prophets, if they don't want to accept it in that way. But there are so many things, even if we just, for example, I see so many people, drive by homeless people, whether at the drive-thru or at the local 7-Eleven, and won't even give them a glance or offer to buy them something. These are good acts that whether or not you believe in the last day or whatever the case may be, these are things that can improve, you know, the lives of other people around you. And so if we can just take out all the ayahs where Allah is telling us to take care of the poor, feed the needy, things of these nature, and we get people to do that, you know, and I feel like those little acts change the heart of certain people, you know, when they're able to step out of the bounds of themselves and say, okay, well, I'm not rich, but I have enough to buy this guy a burger or this woman a water, you know what I mean? And that might change their life, you know, that might get them thinking, you know what I mean? Well, why is that I'm this way? Or, you know, they might want to start helping people in small other ways, or something like telling the truth and not lying. You know, people, especially I know in America, in the circles that I'm in, people are like, they lie like crazy and they don't understand what it does to the heart and things like that. So if we could find a way to tell them about what's the reason about being truthful and what it would do for them, we can help different people and ourselves, you know, even as Muslims. You know, some people just, you know, mashallah, I wish I had the Qur'an like some brothers do, but I feel like at some point it just becomes, the book is just like it's a point. It's like, oh, you know, Ramadan's coming or whatever, Friday's here, let me read Surah Kaf and let me get these points. And it's like, we have to think about what Allah is telling us and grasp that meaning. It's not just a point of, oh, for every kasra, dhamma, and every letter we get, you know, 10 hasana or whatever the case may be. But what does this mean? What is he telling me? And I feel like I said earlier, some of that comes from you lose the opportunity to really bond and really have the heart changed when you just accept the meanings and things that other people just tell you what it is. You know, if you might come to a different conclusion or you might grasp a different meaning, or it might move you to do something else. And so, that's what I really wanted.
Definitely. I mean, Jazakallah khair. Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, no, definitely. I think the locks on the heart, these tafasir. I mean, that's why I said that I avoid them. I don't read them at all. So, you know, I used to try to read them a long time ago, and then I decided to just completely stop, because it blocks you. They really do block you from the Quran, right? And it would be good if they'd actually just, you know, if these people, the ones who wrote the tafasir, had actually done their own thinking on the verse. But the majority are not that. The majority are just, you know, regurgitating, because that's unfortunately the culture that we had of the Quran, right? We have these sayings: what sky would cover me and what earth would hold me if I said about the Quran what is not in it. You know, they have these kind of things where they're not allowed nobody should speak on the Quran except with a hadith or sanad or somebody before them who had said that. And all of that is nonsense, just blocks, right? And that's what God said, أَمْ عَلَى قُلُوبٍ أَقْفَالُهَا, right? Will they not ponder the Quran? Will they not? And it's speaking to the Prophet. Never is the Quran telling the Prophet to ponder the Quran. A very, very interesting thing. It's always speaking to him and telling him, why don't they ponder the Quran? Right? And that's why I think the Prophet got out of the way. He said, I'm not going to give tafsir of the Quran, right? I'm not going to explain the Quran, because that would stop them from pondering, and God wants them to ponder. Right? So will they not ponder the Quran? And then the Quran says, or is it that on their hearts are their locks, aqfaluha? Right? It's not that other people put locks on your heart, as you put the locks of your own heart. The locks are of your own heart, right? And you lock up your heart with all these things which are from outside, and that prevents you from actually pondering. Anyway, thank you for that. Let me try and bring on the last person we have backstage. Yeah, you have something else? Go ahead.
No, I want you to kind of explain. I heard you mention with one of the other speakers, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. I was trying to hold it on as much as I can in my head. I think you said something like, Allah doesn't say in the Quran that He only loves the Muslims. I don't want to misquote you. It was something I've never heard.
Yeah, no.
Am I correct?
Yeah, the mu'mineen. Yeah, the mu'mineen. Yeah, if you check on my channel, I've got this video. It says, you know, I think I called it, He loves me not. Right? And it's short. It's about 30 minutes. And basically, I go through all of the verses in the Quran where God says whom He loves, and He says whom He doesn't love. And never once in the Quran does God say that He loves the mu'mineen, the believers. You know, Inna Allah yuhibbul mu'mineen, that's not in the Quran at all. Right? You've got mostly Inna Allah yuhibbul muhsineen, that comes 5 times. You've got Inna Allah yuhibbul muttaqeen, al-mutahhirin, al-mutatahhirin. Okay? Inna Allah yuhibbu alladhina yuqatiluna fi sabilihi saffan ka'annahum bunyan marsus. Okay, إن الله يحب what is it الصابرين إن الله يحب المتوكلين إن الله يحب المقسطين. Okay, he said these are the ones whom God says that He loves. التوابين. Okay, loves التوابين. And never once does He say He loves المؤمنين, the believers. Those, you know.
So
And I put that, yeah.
is it like based on the actions? Because I don't know where these ayats are. I don't think I've seen them, but are they? Is it Allah saying or mentioning that He loves those who are performing certain actions or doing good deeds? Is that where that comes from? Because
Well, yeah, I mean, these are categories, right? Al-Muhsinin, okay, those who do good, right? Al-Muqsitin, those who are just. Al-Mutahhirin, those who are pure. Al-Mutatahhirin, those who purify. Al-Muttaqin. Okay, these are virtues, like high virtues, right? That I personally think that these things could be arranged in a hierarchy, sort of, where you can have all of the other good deeds. They all fall under these things. And the same thing of those whom God says He doesn't love. He doesn't love al-mu'tadeen. Kullu kaffarin athim. Doesn't love al-kafirin. Interesting, right? He says He doesn't say that He loves al-mu'mineen, but He does say that He doesn't love al-kafirin, right? So He doesn't love al-zalimin. Kullu mukhtalin fakhur. Man kana khawanan athim. I've said that, for anybody who has children, they should try to get their children to learn these things, because these are virtues that you can just live yourself life by. If you can, for example, take on one of the virtues, become one of these whom God loves, and stay away from all of those whom God doesn't love, don't become in any of those categories, then paradise is for you, right? God's love is for you.
That's
right.
so
So
interesting, because then would I be wrong or incorrect to say that even, let's say, people who are non-Muslims, the people can still hold some of these virtues? Am I wrong?
Yes, exactly. No, exactly. That's one of the things have been trying to push for, that it's not about Iman. It's not, Iman is sort of, Iman is what helps these things come. And just like I said, that you don't enter paradise by Iman, okay? It's not it's not Iman. You enter paradise by actions. The whole of the Quran from beginning to end is, bima kuntum ta'malun. Enter both hell and hellfire and paradise. It's by your actions, what you used to do. It's not about what you used to believe. It's never about what you used to believe. It's all about actions.
Yeah,
okay. Like I said, if somebody, a non-Muslim, can be one of these things, for example, it can be of the mutawakkilin, or be of al-muhsinin, or al-mutahhirin, can be one of these, okay, and he's none of the other things which God says He doesn't love: al-musrifin, al-kha'inin, right, the treacherous, al-mutakabbirin, the arrogant, right, and he's not any of those things, then of course God will love him. Okay, and I also think that these things are mutually exclusive, that you can't be one and be the other. Right? You can never be a person of ihsan, one of the muhsinin, and be one of the other things which God says He doesn't love, because then that would be a contradiction. Right? You can't say, okay, does God love me or He doesn't, right? But yeah, have a look at that video. It's not that long, and I just go through each of the verses. And you can see them all. Every single verse where that phrase comes, where He says Inna Allah yuhib, or He says Inna Allah la yuhib. And by the way, God never says He hates. Never says that He hates these people. It's always either God loves or He does not love.
I see. Okay, gotcha. Thanks for having me. I appreciate the time.
No problem.
Good.
No problem. Anytime, Ali. Take care of yourself. Jazakallah khair. All right, let's bring on our last guest. We just have a DBR here. Assalamu alaikum. Initials, DBR.
Assalamu alaikum, brother. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Alhamdulillah. I really want to appreciate the effort, man.
No problem. Sorry to keep you waiting. I saw you waiting there for a long time.
You're one of the better channels doing this sort of stuff. Even in the Qur'anist, I don't like that word. In this Quran-only type of community, people are running with all sorts of nonsense, and it's a mess, honestly. And there's endless conspiracy theories and these rabbit holes and all that. But yeah,
well, people are learning. What can you do? People are learning, and don't forget what they're running away from. We always have to keep that in mind, because I see that, of course, a lot as well. But you have to have sort of that broadness of chest. What was the thing that Ali once said? He said the the way to, you know, like the Prophet, he united everybody in Medina, who had, you know, there were mushrikeen there, munafiqeen, there were all sorts of people there, but he united them all upon common ground, right? So we need to keep in mind that, you know, a lot of people some of them are very hurt, right? They've run away from being very hurt by religion, right? So they're finding safety finally in the Quran, and it takes a while to sort of balance yourself in a way.
Yeah, I was in that sort of mentality too for, I mean, a couple of years. I did not know where I was going, and it almost felt that I had been lied to about everything. And but I still couldn't let go of that feeling that, I mean, there is something to this book and to this quote unquote religion, and I couldn't let go of it completely. But I was deeply hurt. I felt that essentially they've made up everything. Like, they have changed the religion. They have hijacked the religion. And something that really hurts my heart to see all this. But what can you do about it?
I think we've all had that experience, and that's probably part of this part of the reason why these. I mean, don't forget that these lies and things were allowed to go on, right? Allah says in the Quran that, you know, that فَذَرْهُمْ وَمَا يَفْتُرُونَ, leave them and that which they invent. And why? So that those people later can listen to them, right? So we have that same struggle. We are very much the same struggle, because we are going to have to be sifted in the same way that those people who are there at the time of the Prophet were also sifted, right? You know, imagine yourself in the time of the Prophet. It wouldn't be that easy to follow him. You know, you've grown up with this, and everybody's this, and you have these great people, intellects. You know, you've got, you know, Abu Jahl. Okay, his name wasn't Abu Jahl, and he was known for being a wise person, right? Abu Hakam, they used to call him, right? You've got Abu Hakam and this person, Abu Sufyan, all these great leaders, and even the Prophet's own grandfather, Abdul Muttalib. They are saying that he was like this, and follow this guy. Why should I follow this guy? You know. Don't think it'll be that easy. It's not that easy, right? It's not that easy. And so in the same sort of way, you know, and then you find out, okay, no, everything, the most stuff of what you think you know is a lie, right? And so it's in each generation. You have to. People have. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, the connection, it's a bit shaky. I got some of your points. I mean, the path of the prophets, it's not easy to follow. You know, Prophet Ibrahim and Prophet Muhammad, and you know, all the prophets, they've faced this difficulty from their societies, going against the status quo, the established norms. And if you confront these people about their, you know, what they have done to the religion, they're like, was everybody misguided, or they did not know? Now you are teaching us. Do you know Arabic? Have you studied this? Have you studied that? So it's really tiring and it's really frustrating. But this is how it has always been, I think.
Yeah. So I mean, like I said, it's part of the part of God's sifting, right? That's why it was allowed to continue, right? That's why God didn't allow the Prophet to live, you know, till he completely eradicated all forms of kufr, of disbelief, that kind of stuff. That didn't happen, right? And the good is never allowed to completely eradicate the evil, right? Nor the evil will completely eradicate the good. It just has to be that way, because this world is for that. It's for separating humanity, right? It's for us to be able to show God that we can recognize the truth and follow the truth despite, you know, all of these obstacles, right? You know, we've been placed into this world of our hearing, our sight, our intellect, our heart, right? And on top of that, he's, you know, sent prophets and messengers and Qur'an and these things. And, you know, you have to make your way back to him.
Yeah, exactly.
You have to make your way back to him through all of this.
But where do you think that this sort of outlook, this Quran only and Quran centric side of approach, will it gain some steam in the coming times, or will it always be in this sort of minority and you know, on the sidelines? Because I see that the traditional narrative, it's kind of breaking at some of the points.
I think ultimately, you know, I mentioned this in my God's Endgame. I do believe in the end that the aqibatu lit-taqwa, as the Quran says, the aqibah is for muttaqeen, right? The aqibah, the final outcome, will be for those of taqwa. إن الأرض يرثها عبادي الصالحون, that the earth will be inherited by my righteous. In the end, I have this the hopefulness of this. In the end, the truthful will triumph, right? جاء الحق وزهق الباطل إن الباطل كان زهوقا. It will continue to go, right? So, and it has been. I mean, it has been. It gets less and less. Even if sometimes some of the haqq will go somewhere else, okay, but it will still be increasing. Okay, sometimes it's not with us anymore. Okay, it may go somewhere else, right? But it will always be increasing, and the batil is going to be forever decreasing. Even if in our community, even if the batil, it seems like it's increasing, it just means the haqq has gone somewhere else and it's increasing there.
That's a good point. Just one more question, if you don't mind.
Yeah, go ahead.
Are you willing to comment on that recent MBS interview? I mean, it sent shockwaves to the Sunni world, I believe.
Yeah, it does. It does, yeah. As it always does, right? As it always does when the rulers over there decide to change things, and then all the scholars are scrambling to say, yes, this is what we believe, this is what we thought all along, right? Like when they decided that women should be allowed to drive, overnight, they're all saying, yes, of course women are allowed to drive. It's not haram, no way, right? But yes, look, I mean, as soon as he said that, I had a lot of people tell me, okay, look at this, it's hypocrisy in this, and I said, look, he's saying this, all right, and that's that's the intention, the first step, and we have to sort of like support that. I mean, we shouldn't look at one of the negative things, right, that we have is that when, let's say, somebody has been a sinner for a long time, and then suddenly they decide, okay, I'm going to repent and I'm going to turn a new leaf, and then they see him in the mosque praying, they call him a hypocrite for that, right? So look, he's a hypocrite, he's a person who does this and now he's praying, ha ha ha. No, I mean, this is now, you have to look at the future, right? From that point forward, what's going to happen. Okay, so that's what I'm looking at. I've seen many tweets for Hassan al-Maliki, saying that putting it out there. It's true, saying that if the kingdom is serious about moving in this direction, then the best person for that would be Hassan al-Maliki. Many people have been saying that. But at the same time, also, don't forget, these people. A lot of these people, they don't even. I don't know. The thing about it. People like MBS. He's how much does he know about what's happening? In the prisons underneath, right? How much, he should. It's his responsibility, and then this, they're in charge of the country. But like I said, we need to look. When we see people moving towards a positive direction, we need to, say, okay, let's see now, right? We should be trying to at least support those who are building in that direction, even if in lieu of the past. So I mean, there's positive changes, but at the same time, I'm not holding my breath, right? I'm just gonna, we hope for that, and I think it's a positive move, definitely. Inshallah, we'll bring forward the change, but we'll see. Yeah. So all I would say is just we shouldn't try to knock it down. Wait a little bit and see where it goes. Wait for the actions behind the words. I think the best thing would have been, even before doing the announcement, would have been to actually take steps towards it, right? Actions speak louder than words, right?
Yeah.
But again, the announcement is a good announcement, and hopefully it will go forward. Yeah.
Hopefully we see some sort of reforms, and I mean, how can I say this? I want to see something, I want to see something come to fruition. This constant, I'm running short of words. This disappointment and this rigidness and something positive. I'm just waiting for that spark. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, I understand. Inshallah, what can we do? Patience, patience. One of the things that Hassan Malik was saying about, saying, look, in the end, because he was imprisoned how many times, right? And he was prevented, his passport confiscated, prevented from travel, not able to work for the past 30 or how many years. His son imprisoned. And then he just says, look, in the end we're not suffering nearly as much as those who those before us, right? Look how much some of the former peoples suffered for truth. If we're just put in prison, then we're being pampered. People before used to get a whole lot worse than that, right?
Yeah,
but anyway, we hope
you.
things increase. Jazakallah khair. Thank you so much for coming on. Jazakallah khair. Yeah. And I think that's I've had everybody on. Let me see if there's anything in the chat anybody wants to say. Does anybody have I'm not going to be able to scroll through all of this. Looks like people are having a nice discussion there. If somebody has something they want to say, you can just post it on now and I can answer it. Otherwise, I want to end this. We've gone quite a lot over the time. No, it doesn't seem so. All right, brilliant anyway. Okay, Jazakumullah khair. Thank you everybody for coming on. Prayer time, Akhi. Who was this? Bonnie. Alaikum assalam. No, not prayer time, but bedtime over here where I am. All right, okay, guys. Assalamu alaikum. Thanks so much for coming on and see you again next week.